4i, or 4 eyes as they call themselves. I'm sure to screw that up, so let's go with either today. Not a new player on the market by any means. They've been around since 2010. In 2011, they kicked around with a heads-up display, as seen here on dcrunmaker.com. 2012 saw the announcement of the Viva heart rate strap, launched in 2013. In September 2014, 4 Eyes launched the Precision Power Meter, the CoinCell self-install stages-style crank arm, for around $400 US, and got quite a lot of attention with that. 4 Eyes CEO Kip Fife and his team invented Ant Plus, sold that to Dynastream, who was then purchased by Garmin. Not the only ones to be purchased by Garmin, but they do know their stuff. So you may recall their presentation from Interbike 2018 regarding an independent power meter testing and validation process with Roger Cram. I did a video on this, I will link below. Very interesting stuff. But in short there, that's the background. They've been around for a little while now. They really know their stuff and they really back their power meters. So much so, they wanted me to test one here in the Llama Lab, knowing that I do chase things down rabbit holes and get a bit picky with these things. Jumping to Google Trends and a 15-year analysis of search terms or popularity of power meter terms, you can see there some interesting things happening. Well, first up we can see SRM are sailing the good ship failboat there on the downward slope there. Time to turn that ship around, SRM. PowerTap, pretty much the same. They were a player, now they're just another player in the market. And we can see there in purple the 4 Eyes power meter being searched for since September 2014, since launch of their CoinCell power meter, and slowly on the rise. And yeah, the new player there, Favero Asioma, so hot right now. But interesting to see the traditionalists are dipping down and the other players coming into the market and doing quite well. So 4 Eyes, they're up there. On to the technical specifications and details of the Podiiium dual factory install meter that I've had on the bike. It is $8.99 USD for the installation. You will need to supply the crank, especially for the FSA version that I did have. A side note on the factory installation, you will need to send your crank over to Alberta, Canada for the professionals to do it with all their big calibration equipment, which is probably a good thing. Self-install kits can go a little bit wonky. So do factor that in. I'm a big fan of the pre-made version, so buying the crankset ready to go and then just selling the one you've currently got. Dropping down to the details and tech specs, you can see here listed 3D strain gauge technology, which measures triaxial strain on your crank arm. Excellent stuff. I have had issues in the past and more recent past with power meters that only measure pretty much up and down. As soon as you start throwing the bike, the readings go a little bit wonky. So they list this as not being a problem, hopefully, with this power meter. Accurate and consistent data, reliable, robust, battery status indicator, Ant Plus, Bluetooth Smart. You can do updates via the phone. Configurable rider compensation scale factor through the 4i app. So if it's reading high or low, you can scale that within the app. If it's accurate, you should never need to do this. So it's handy to have, but it can also be exploited to overread power. The weight is listed as 15 grams. I'm not sure if that's each side or either side, but either way, that's still pretty damn light. Data accuracy plus or minus 1%, beautiful. And battery life, rechargeable battery with approximately charge life of 60 hours. Some more information on the battery. It's said to be able to go through 200 max capacity charges before the battery life starts sort of dipping down a little bit. So you're looking at probably 10,000 riding hours. And if anything goes skewy under warranty, which is 2 years, they'll replace it under RMA. So there's the unit that I've had on my bike for the last week. Let's go through the installation, the ride, and diving into the data. Okay, over to the unboxing of this unit, and it comes in a massive sized box. Okay. Crankset itself, instructions up here. Crankset again, let's get everything in the box out onto the table. Other crank, and charge cable. So that's everything in the box. We will put that aside. Now, this isn't the installation tool to put the cranks on. This is for the charge covers. We'll have a closer look at those. That's the charge cable here, one USB into two micro USBs. That's how the thing charges, because it is the rechargeable version. And the tops just pop off here. You can see inside there, that's the charge port. And over here, it's on the inside, up in there. It's gonna be kind of hard to get to on the bike, but it is up inside there. That's the crankset. Pretty simple, straightforward. Let's have a look on the scales. Looking forward to this for sure. 0 offset is all good. Just the crank, 494, the entire crank set, both sides, 656, not bad, not bad. The FSA crankset is exactly the same form factor or type as the Zwift power meter that I had on the bike. So it was simple as removing one and installing the other. And away we go. Once the pedals were installed, we were right to roll. Okay, next thing was to load the app and check for firmware updates and configuration, which involved pulling down the application off the App Store, connecting over Bluetooth from the phone. You can see there are 2 Bluetooth devices that will connect to both once they are detected, so it just takes a few seconds here. Right side connected, left side coming online. Right now, okay. No firmware updates required, so there was no prompting for that. You can actually change the scale factor, so that's what it looks like in here. You can also rename the unit if you wanted to rename it. I believe this is for the Bluetooth name, but I didn't worry about any of that. I was more concerned about getting out on the road and getting a ride in. Crankset here on the bike, looking pretty good. First couple of kilometers. And now it's time to take it up Volcano number 1, Mount Warrenheip here in Ballarat. It's a very old volcano, it's not going to explode on me. It's a good 5 to 10 minute climb. And you are not seeing things. That is a medieval castle on the left. It's a tourist attraction here in Ballarat. But putting it to the sword, all the way at the top. So test 1 done. And into my favourite part, the descent. Coming down here, and in the distance is Mount Buninyong, home of the Australian Road National Championships. I'll be heading over there in a couple of minutes' time, but that's the other hill. I'm going to take this power meter up for a test. Okay, onto the slopes of Mount Buninyong and out of the saddle, giving this heaps side to side. The GoPro does a really good job of stabilising this, but I was out of the saddle quite a bit. Fast forwarding through to this other little section, and then again, test number 2, out of the saddle, trying to separate the 2 power meters, the Aciomas and the 4i power meter, and have a look at the data later on. But yeah, giving it heaps, out of the saddle, side to side. And here we are at the summit of Mount Buninyong. So volcano number 2 ticked off. Next up, to enjoy the descent and to put this in the video to show people how beautiful it is riding around here in Ballarat and how lucky we are. Over there on the right hand side, you can just see Mount Warrenheip, the first hill we went up, just there on the distance. So definitely a good little workout, beautiful day to be out riding a bike. Next up, through Buninyong into some rumble strip testing. So straight over these bumps here. The camera does a pretty good job of stabilising that, but no problems at all. And then into the final sprint, loading up the legs, 900 to 950 watts for about 20 seconds or so up this slight incline here. Shaking the bike side to side before heading home onto some gravel and meeting a new friend. All right, friends aside, time to look at the data. Here we are again at my favourite website on the internet, DC Rainmaker's analysis tool, where we can compare multiple power meters together with an overlay and see how they stack up. First ride was on Zwift with the Aussie Hump Day ride using the 4i Podiiium, the Tax Neo 2 and the Favero Acioma Duos. So 3 power meters on the bike and seeing how they stack up here. There was a number of dropouts in the Llama Lab. Something was up. If you have a look just here, it's a dog's breakfast of dropouts through all different components. So I'm going to have to skip that section there and focus on the sections where I didn't have any environmental issues. So diving into just riding along, switching through the gears, different chain lines, everything that's not going to be perfect. We'll get to that in the Llama Lab test, but the numbers were pretty good. 191, 184, 192. That's pretty good for the just riding along. The section where the hammer drops and the race is on, through here, so we're looking at around 300 watts, give or take, 266, 259, 265, very close, all 3. Into some sprints here at the end, 169, 164, 168. No major separations, all happy days there. I'm going to leave it like that for now. We're going to jump over to my double volcano ride outside and have a look at the data here. The Acioma's up against the 4i Podiiium outdoors. There was some stop and starts, and I was taking a few phone calls during this ride, so the averages are a bit weird. But looking at the sections where I was riding pretty hard up a hill here, so we have average 271, 268 for 25 minutes. The upper hill section just through here, no major separations, all looking pretty good. This is unsmooth. This is the raw data coming from the power meters, 307 watts versus 308 watts. It's all good. On to Volcano number 2, Mount Buninyong, and here's where I did the out of the saddle ripping on the bars up a hill, and no major separations there whatsoever. 280 versus 283 for around about 11 minutes. There was one small instance that I will have to pick out, and it's just here. For whatever reason, when I was moving the bike and taking a photo, it popped up to 1165 watts on just that one power meter on the 4i. Don't know what that's about. I've sent them over the data to have a look at. But that's just kind of a weird anomaly right there when I wasn't even clipped into the bike. Anyhow, on the way home, a couple of sprints we can see here and here. No major separations. 263, 254. Let's dive in even a little closer to that. Given the start-stop nature of the sprints, one power meter is always going to get maybe a second or half a second jump on others. So look, unsmooth, within 3 watts with 2 spikes over 1,000 there for a few seconds. Happy days. On to the Llama Lab Test, the final and ultimate test of a power meter. How good is this? Nothing much to report here at all, to be honest, which makes me happy. There are 3 power meters there. We have the Acioma Duos, the Tax Neo 2s, and the 4i Podiiium. So 231, 227, 227, call it a quits, call it a day. We are good. I did have some slight dropouts again in the Llama Lab, something's going on. The equipment itself, overs and unders, all good. And my minute or so, or 2-minute jam session, which I add to the end of my rides now, you can see here, that's over 450 watts, and then dipping down around a corner, and then pushing to the line on Watopia wall. It's all looking pretty good. And then just riding along, 238, 237, 238. Doesn't get any closer than that. Lastly, to the overall stats of the Llama Lab Test, average powers across all 3, 173, 168, 169. Max powers, 1199, 1180, 1179. So all looking pretty good. The only thing I can pick out is that one small spike when I moved the bike and that misread cadence or whatever it was. But other than that, 3 rides, well, it's been more than 3 rides, but there's 3 rides of data analysis. Absolutely beautiful. So for me, that's a 9.5 out of 10 for this particular model that I had on the bike. The half-point reduction is because nothing gets 10 out of 10. And I do need to know why that spike occurred. If it occurs all the time, then you're gonna have to clean your data up. So that's the only thing. Other than that, that was a pretty damn good experience with that power meter and has restored my faith in crank-based power meters that have been retrofitted with strain gauges. So not bad at all, 4i's. So I think they've nailed it with this particular unit. Well, the particular unit that I had. It was good in steady state, it was good in sprints, there was no wonkiness out of the saddle, so it looks like their 3D strain gauge actually worked when the angles were a little different and the bike swinging around. It's light, so yeah, that's my 9.5 out of 10 review for sure. The downsides, price. Yes, it is kind of expensive to put on the bike, and the downside of having to send your crank to Canada. However, give me something that's expensive any day if there are no rabbit holes and it just works. So there we have it, my take on the FSA crankset fitted with the 4i's Podiiium power meter dual side. Very, very happy days. No rabbit holes, as I said, 9.5 out of 10. I'd happily ride this power meter and recommend it. Price is up there, so do watch for that. Alrighty, we'll leave it there for today. Thanks for watching, and again, it's good to know that the process that I use to test these power meters does work when the equipment is good. Alright, see you soon.
Off, dog! Alright! You, off, go!